You've been told thousands of times that comparison steals your joy. But what if I told you that that's only half the truth? We've been told look away from what other people have because that's the reason that you're sad and you have no joy. But the truth is, comparison is not just a trap, it's also a tool. If you stop doing it entirely, you could be missing out on a major blessing. So, how could you tell if it's a trap or if it's a tool? Let's take a look to see what the words say. So, I'm going to read you a passage. This is going to be 2nd Corinthians 10th chapter, 12th verse in the King James Version. It says, For we dare not make ourselves of the number, or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves, but they measuring themselves by themselves, and comparing themselves among themselves are not wise. Now, the reason why it's a trap is not just because it makes you feel bad, it's because you're using a broken ruler. When you're comparing yourself to another, someone who is as lost as you're you aren't finding the truth. You're just finding another distraction. So basically, if you're comparing yourself with someone who thinks they're high almighty and self-righteous, you both are fools because you're trying to compare yourself with someone that believe that they have everything and they are the person that obtain everything that they have because of themselves. And you are a fool because you could fall into that same trap as them. So if you're following someone who believes that, and then you start believing that as well, now you're in a trap because now y'all both are not wise. Now, some people may look at, you know, the envy part of someone doing better than them. So you're comparing yourself to someone that may be doing better, have more money, have more notoriety. But it also goes the other way. When you're with someone and you feel like you are better than them, that's still comparing yourself. You're just doing it on a opposite spectrum. You know, you're seeing, hey, I have this and this person doesn't have this. So it makes me slightly better. That is still a trap. Instead, what if you looked at everyone as they're on their own path? Now, let's say you have a friend that may be in a bad spot right now. Instead of just looking at them as you're better than them, you have more than them, look at it as you don't know what the future holds for them. I'm going to give you a story that came from the Bible. This is going to be 2nd Kings chapter 13, verse 20 and 21. And Elisha died, and they buried him. And it came to pass, as they were burying a man, that behold, they spied a band of men, and they cast the man into a sepulchre of Elisha. And when the man was let down and touched the bones of Elisha, he revived and stood up to his feet. Now, why do I give you that story? Because let's say your friend may not be doing good and they pass away. And you may see it like, you know, they wasn't doing good, right? You know, like they didn't fulfill their purpose or so forth. Even in the passing of a person, they still could fulfill their purpose. In this story, Elisha passed away, and his last miracle was a dead person wind up touching his bone and was revived. So this shows that we cannot see the purpose of a person if they're going through, or even if they seem successful. We don't know their true purpose, so we can never judge. So if comparing ourselves to others makes us not wise, does that mean that we should never look at someone else? Actually, the Bible says the opposite. Let's go to Romans 15th chapter, 4th verse in the King James Version. For whatsoever things are written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of scriptures might have hope. So looking at someone's life and listening to their stories may bring you hope. If they succeeded in something that you deem as successful and you're on that path, it's good to listen to their stories. It's good to learn from their mistakes. If you didn't look at YouTube or read books to learn about a topic from different sources, how would you be able to navigate that topic? Me, with this YouTube journey, I analyze a lot of videos. I see what people are doing that works and what somebody may be doing that's not working. I find out what YouTube is doing with the algorithms and what is their goal. Now, the reason why I'm doing this because I feel like God gave me this purpose to impact the most people that I can and just give them hope through my life. So, how do you look at someone else's life and not have the joy taken from you, but actually fuel your purpose? Some methods that I use is the how, not why method. Ask how did they obtain what you're trying to obtain, not why. Now, the way I see this is you may be seeing someone driving a nice fancy car and you may be walking and you feel less than the people that's driving because you don't have a vehicle. Instead of saying like, why do they have to have that? You can see, or you could ask the question, how did they get that? I go through this all the time. I may see a person in a big truck and I'm like, how did they obtain that? You know, what type of job do they have? You know, what's their income? And also, how much money are they spending on gas with these higher gas prices right now? So instead of me saying, why do that person have this? Instead of me, is it because I'm cursed? I just ask, how did they get that? And I say, God, if it's in your will for me to have that, after I work on myself and see that I'm able to manage that when you give it to me, that's how I see it. The second method is the gardener in the garden. So I recently heard Myron Golden talk about the gardener in the garden. Or honestly, it could be the other way around. It could be the garden in the gardener. So Adam had to tend to the land in which he came from. He came from dirt and he had to tend the dirt. So in that, he's the garden and he's the gardener. He have seeds and he have to plant seeds. When you think of this principle, if Adam eats an apple, is there a less apple or are there more apples? And I'm going to tell you how this ties in to the comparison. Based on your answer, if you think that there is one less apple, that's looking at it in the negative side. Because actually, by him eating the apple, he exposed more seeds for more apples to grow. And one apple seed is not just one apple. There is one apple tree that can produce hundreds of apples. So when you're looking at someone else and you see that they might be successful, it's not taken away from your success. Actually, if you partner with them, it can add to your success. If you partner with 7 successful people, the impact that y'all can make can be to millions. And let's say if you by yourself can reach 1 million people. If you partner with them 3 other successful individuals, y'all can reach 1 trillion people. There's a saying, 2 could send 1,000 to flight and 3 could send tens of thousands to flight. I may be butchering it, but it was a verse that was in the Bible. So another method that I use, my third method, is compare competition. What I would like to ask you is, who is your biggest competition and what progress did they make from yesterday till today? Now, before you call your competitors, your so-called competitors, think about this. Every day, would you call them and ask them, what progress did you make yesterday? Would you do that? I know I wouldn't. So when I say that, who's your competitor and find out what they did yesterday to improve their life, you should look in the mirror and do this to yourself because you are your only competition. I always think of like the greatest athletes, and I hear them say all the time that they are their biggest competition. They compete with their self from the time that they get up to the time that they go to sleep. And then when they get into the stadium of the competition, if it's a basketball player, when they get to the basketball court, they're able to shine because of all the training that they did of going against themselves. And I just want to give a shout out to one person. If you haven't ever heard of David Goggins, research this guy. He proves that building your mindset, that you can do anything that you put your mind to. And my last method is the silence your should have. I should have been further by now. I should have been left that relationship. I should have invested in Amazon in the early 2000s. You was only like 5 years old. And if you wasn't, what lesson did you learn from that, from not investing in Amazon? Should have take most of our joy. So instead of saying should have, just see it as if you didn't do that, it was for a purpose. It was for you to learn from it and share with others. In everything that seems like it could be bad, always find the polarity. Always find the good in that situation. So we've seen the trap in comparison, and we've seen the tool of comparison. But there's one more final shift in perspective that I need you to understand. It's the difference between feeling not enough and feeling like you're called. If you miss this, even the good part of comparison will fall short. The Bible doesn't want you to compare yourself to others people highlight. The Bible wants you to compare yourself to his word. Are you living out the words that he's given you? That's what you need to compare yourself to. When you fix your eyes on the author of your life, everyone else just becomes a side story. Thanks for joining me. We'll automate to elevate with Justin. I just want to just tell you something that I have in my profile. It's called Buy Me a Coffee. And if you like this content, you can help me out by supporting me there. I plan to give you as much content as I can. And thank you for tuning in. I hope that you like this video.